My guest today is Ben Zenitsky. Ben has a unique job at the Columbus Metropolitan Library, basically being the media contact and a point of contact for all media. If you've watched any news blurb about the library or read an article about it, he's probably been the person quoted or featured. Whether you know it or not, Ohio has some of the best libraries in the nation, and a lot of that comes down to the funding. But if you've read any of the headlines recently, you know that the funding question is up in the air with how certain things are funded through the Ohio Library Fund. We're going to get into all of that in a moment. Now, I do have a bit of a bias in this episode. Clearly, I used to work at the library with that marketing team, so I know them well. They're former colleagues of mine. But additionally, I've always used the library. Ever since I was a kid, I would go to my local library and I'd participate in the reading challenges they had to get free Pizza Hut coupons or just go to other events and connect with the community. I think libraries serve an important role in community, which is why I wanted to talk to those at the library about that, what they offer, and more. I do also have questions about funding, so we'll talk about that and other things in this chronicle of the Columbus Chronicle. Ben Zadinsky, thank you so much for talking with me today and just like chatting about the state of CML in general, Columbus Metropolitan Library, and just Ohio libraries in general. A little disclaimer, we worked together for a couple years over at CML, worked pretty closely, and that was really my first introduction to behind the scenes of a library, specifically Ohio libraries, which are a lot of people don't realize some of the best in the nation. Why is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Ohioans visit their library per capita, I believe, more than any other state in the country. We have in the state of Ohio some of the best libraries in the country, and the reason for that, uh, or so many would believe, is because we have a unique funding structure in Ohio, where libraries in other states are funded only through property tax levies and philanthropy. We have a state funding apparatus in place as well called the Ohio Public Library Fund. So we actually get state funding in addition to our local funding. So it's the reason why any resident of the state of Ohio can get a Columbus Metropolitan Library card, because taxes that we pay are funding all public libraries in the state. So right now, about 17%, give or take, of our funding at the library, Columbus Metropolitan Library, comes from the public library fund. So the vast majority does indeed come from local property taxes, but then that 17% comes from the public library fund. And that is what is currently being discussed at our State House.
I thought it was interesting. I think I saw a stat somewhere that, out of the 250-ish library systems in the state, a lot of them have those levies that fund them for the majority. But there's a good portion, I think a fifth of them that receive the Ohio Library Fund is the reason they're able to stay afloat. It's their primary source. So that was just kind of a side note. One of the things I saw when it was like, well, why do you need this if you have all these local levies?
Exactly. And so that is the big fear. If this new budget slashes the public library fund, it's the rural libraries in the smaller communities, the smaller towns in Ohio that are going to be hit the hardest. I mean, this is uh, this is an existential threat to those library facilities, and these are in communities largely where people are less affluent. They need the resources provided by those libraries, uh, access to Wi-Fi, access to information, access to resources that they can get at their public library that will likely be gone.
Yeah. So kind of talk to me. You're privy to CML. You know what goes on. That 17%. Kind of talk about the programs that supports. I know it gets mixed in with probably maybe I don't know that for sure, but with the rest of the general funding. But what are some of those programs that this current state of budget could impact?
Oh, I mean, and I don't know specific programs that could be cut. We haven't gotten into the specifics so far as I know, as to what could be cut. But like you say, I mean, we have so many different programs for for people of all ages, whether our after-school programs for students, programs for adults, where we connect them with technology, where we help them with technology, where we help small business owners and entrepreneurs and nonprofits, just our facilities in general. So anything and everything is obviously dependent on the funding that we receive.
So I know House Bill 96 looks a little different. I guess for people who don't know, because I was trying to find all the different resources that were available to understand what the current state of the funding is. What does that look like right now? What is the playing field look like for funding moving forward? Is it still up in the air? Is there a shortfall? Like, what is the state of it right now?
So the Ohio House passed its version of the budget, so now it's going to go to the Ohio Senate. So our CEO, Lauren Hagan, has been encouraging our customers to reach out to their state senators to make sure that they have their voices heard when it comes to the funding of their of their libraries. So that's kind of where we are right now. The public library fund has been maintained in name only in the House's version. So, um, we're the original proposal from Governor DeWine was that it would be bumped up 100 million, and then the House's version was that it would be bumped down 90 million. Don't quote me on this. You'd have to go look at the bill itself. But yeah, I'm not an expert on the financial parts of it. A good resource would be the Ohio Library Council for anybody interested in learning more about how libraries are funded and how this bill would affect the funding.
But you mentioned Lauren, new CEO, Pat Lazinski, his tenure, he has left CMO recently, but Lauren's in, exciting time for the library.
Yeah. Uh, Pat Lazinski was our CEO from 2002 until last fall. He announced his retirement from Columbus Metropolitan Library early last year, and our board of trustees hired Lauren Hagan as his replacement. She was our chief financial officer since 2018, so she knows the organization inside and out. And so she started in October, and we have been all systems go. It's been a seamless transition.
Yeah, and, I find it kind of funny because I think people on the outside, see, some, there's changes to some new library system, like a new li excuse me, not new library system, a new library branch coming. You guys are updating, some locations, renovating. There's a lot going on, and I don't think a lot of people, realize what goes on behind the scenes with that. What are some of those projects right now? Because you've been since I left last year, you guys have been like, go, go, go. It's been nonstop, it seems like,
Oh
for
yeah.
everything happening.
Absolutely. So I think a lot of people, might look at their library and say, "Oh, this is the Dublin Library, this is the Reynoldsburg Library, this is the New Albany Library, this is the Canal Winchester Library." Many people might not recognize that these are all part of a larger library system. So Columbus Metropolitan Library has 23 library locations, and we actually just announced our 24th, which will be built on the northwest side, and that will become our West Case branch along West Case. I don't know if anybody's familiar with it was called the Sheep Farm. This was an OSU sheep farm as part of their agriculture program. It's right across the street from the OSU airport up on the northwest side, up there on Sawmill Road and 161. So just south of that is an old sheep farm that OSU sold to the city of Columbus a few years ago. And so the city of Columbus is planning to create this park, and incorporated into that park is going to be a new public library. So that'll be our 24th library location. We plan to break ground on it next year and hope to open in 2027. But in the meantime, we're also working to renovate or rebuild our current locations as well. Gosh, since I started in 2013, we have renovated or rebuilt something like 15 of our 23 locations. So one by one, we are bringing these buildings into the 21st century. They are, not the libraries that you remember from as a kid. These are new, open, welcoming, iconic facilities, open to all. Stop in if you haven't been to your library in a while. But just right now we are renovating and massively increasing the size of our Linden branch. We're renovating and increasing the size of our Barnett branch over on East Livingston. We are building new standalone branches in Marion Franklin and in Canal Winchester as well. So tons going on, and there's lots of things to manage. So in addition to, our budget and our funding that is currently being debated, we're also looking at all these different projects. So it's a lot for a CEO to have to manage.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm not the CEO.
One of the things I also wanted to talk about was you're talking about these new locations, bringing them into the 21st century. What does that look like? What does that mean?
Well, I'll give you an example. Our Linden branch, for example, was built in 2004. It might not seem like that long ago, 21 years. But as communities change, as technology changes and evolves, uh, public libraries need to evolve along with them. Look at our Whetstone branch. It was built in 1985. So think about how things have changed in 40 years. Um, 1/5 of households here in Franklin County lack access to Wi-Fi. So we look at Wi-Fi as a public utility in line with electricity and water and heat. So, how can we make sure that everyone has access to Wi-Fi? So that is one of the things that public libraries offer. We are so much more than books. We like to say we're about books and more, because books are still the centerpiece of what we do. But we have to be thinking about preparing children for kindergarten, preparing adults to help them, equip them with skills they need to find better jobs, new jobs, worked on helping them build their resumes, working on their interviewing skills. We are working to help older adults as well stay connected to technology so that they can stay connected with their loved ones. So tons and tons of different programs. But if you go into any of our new library buildings, what you will find will, I think, shatter your idea of what a library is and what a library used to be. You know, uh, Libraries people think of as kind of these cold, dark vaults for books where you had
Shh, no talking,
brick, yeah, right, where you had, brick walls, very little in the way of natural sunlight, shelves that you could get lost in. Today, these are really built less for books and more for people. So you're going to have spaces to come and sit, to come and relax, to come and gather. You're going to have meeting rooms that you can reserve, small study rooms that you can reserve, and tons of natural light. So not only are these buildings designed beautifully, they are designed to welcome natural sunlight, to invite passersby in, and also give people inside great views out. So we want these buildings to be seamlessly, tailored to the communities that they serve. And each one is a little bit different, but they all kind of fit those central themes. These 21st century libraries truly are unlike anything you might remember from your childhood. So we encourage you to stop in your nearest location.
Yeah, I love the tailored to your communities part because one of the things that happens, and I'd love you to talk to it, is there is a whole process to engage the community when you're doing one of these, whether it's a remodel or a new branch, kind of a little bit of the behind the scenes of that process.
In fact, we just had a meeting last week at the Sawmill Recreation Center to engage with the community on the northwest side to see what they'd like to see in their new West Case branch. What do they envision? What are some things that they would like to see? So, in addition to that community meeting, we also sent out a survey where residents could tell us a few things that they would like to see. So our architects look closely at this. Our library leaders look closely at this, and this helps guide us as we design these new buildings. So, like I said, each new building is different. It reflects the community that it serves, but you will recognize certain themes throughout. That natural sunlight I mentioned, open and walkable and lots of comfortable seating. We, we Pat Lazinski, our former CEO, liked to say that public libraries are one of the few places that we encourage people to loiter. We want you to come and hang out. We don't just want you to come get your book and leave. We want you to come and relax, find a space, enjoy the space, enjoy the community around you, and stick around.
So earlier you said books and more. There's a lot that libraries offer, specifically CML. What are some of the things that you think are like, if you could tell everyone and make everyone aware of like X, Y, and Z, what are a few of the things that are like maybe a little more, I don't want to say hidden, but some of the things that you want to literally, we have this.
Oh gosh. Well, for example, our Culture Pass program. A lot of people know that you can check out using your Columbus Metropolitan Library card. You could check out great books. You can check out CDs. You can check out audiobooks. You can check out ebooks. You can check out, you can stream programs through our website and through Overdrive and Libby and Canopy and those other streaming services. But what if I told you, Connor, that you could also use your Columbus Metropolitan Library card to check out free daily admission passes to places like the Franklin Park Conservatory or the National Veterans Memorial and Museum or the Columbus Symphony. So we actually have partnerships in place with a number of local institutions where you can do just that. You can use your library card to check out free daily admission to some of these cultural gems that we have here in Central Ohio. So, you know, at our core, what we are about as a public library is equal access to all. We want to make sure that money should not be an obstacle for access. And so that is what the Culture Pass is. And it really is about connecting Central Ohioans who might otherwise not be visiting these places to be able to go and see them.
Yeah. The whole thing about, money, not having I still find it funny. I'll be going through Reddit and I'll be on the Columbus subreddit and there'll be some comment about the libraries and be like, "I just found out that they don't have fines anymore." It would just, I know they've been gone for a while, but talk to that a little bit. I mean, I know that's not new news, but
Right. And it is for a lot of people. We eliminated overdue fines, gosh, 2017, so it's been about 8 years now. Uh, we still do have fines in place for lost or damaged materials, so replacement fees. Um, but we do not want the threat of money, of fines, to be an obstacle to checking out materials that you love or that you want your kids to read. And so those overdue fines we found to be prohibitive. They were affecting disproportionately poorer folks, the folks who we really wanted to target, to make sure that they have the materials that they need, that they have the reading materials that they need, that their kids can brush up on the literacy skills that they need to brush up on. So we want to make sure that books are finding their way into the hands of our customers.
yeah, you mentioned literacy. I know that I don't know the numbers. I wish I had those stats in front of me, but I know that there's been some shocking stats about literacy rates now. Um, where does the library fit into that?
Yeah. There were alarming numbers before the pandemic. And
Is that specific to Columbus or general, Ohio-wide or nationwide or
Ohio, I think nationwide as well, but here in Ohio and in Central Ohio, it was troubling well before the pandemic, and then the pandemic came along and made it so much worse. So we have partnered and we continue to partner with the 10 school districts that we serve in our service area, and we're always looking for ways to support the school districts, support the educators with their literacy. You can have school visits. You can bring your classes to our library facilities. We can come to the classrooms. Uh, Teachers can actually register for their own educator card that's separate from their personal card, so they can check out materials using an educator library card for their classrooms. Educators can also request what is called a teacher collection of materials. So if you have a project coming up for your class about sharks, you can request themes, and our library staff will compile whole bins of materials, and actually will deliver them to your class. So um, these are just a number of ways that we're supporting, our educators and our school districts. We have continue to have after school programs, school help for K through 12th graders to get the after school help they need with their schoolwork in all 23 of our locations. We have a Reading Buddies program to help K through 3 graders get that 15 minutes of one-on-one reading help that they need. So of course, our story times and our summer reading challenge. So we like to say that we are in the business of out of school learning. So whether it is in the summer months and the after school hours, we are here to help students keep their reading skills strong.
Yeah, I love that, and I think that goes, not to do, like, full circle moment, but, when you look back at the funding, I often wonder how, and this is solely my opinion, like how much, general public when they're voting on whether it's levies or understanding the public library fund, how much they understand that that actually impacts, right? Because you guys have those programs, during the summer reading challenge. You have partnerships with schools. I know there are so many other things in outreach that you guys do in the community, whether it's, I remember, and correct me if this is not still there or not, but I remember, spending some time going around they went to a bunch of, nursing homes and set up little libraries in the nursing homes for, like, 30 minutes at each stop and would do, like 5, 6 stop, and I just for someone who is maybe, doesn't understand that, what would you say to people who are, I don't wanna say against libraries 'cause it sounds right, but maybe don't understand the entirety of what the funding does?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, you can see on that same Columbus subreddit you mentioned, you will occasionally see commenters say libraries are obsolete. And it just kind of shows that they are still locked in that kind of antiquated view of what a library is. Well, a library is just books. I can get my books now, on Amazon, on Audible, whatever. Um, but it is more than that. And like you mentioned our Lobby Stop program. So this is a program where our outreach team will visit a number of senior care facilities around town and actually set up shop in their facility, help check out books to residents at these facilities. For many of these residents, this is their connection to materials, to resources. So you might not know all that we have to offer, but I can guarantee you that you know somebody who is benefiting from them, who is taking advantage of them. A library is so much more than books, and we encourage anyone who is curious to visit us online, columbuslibrary.org. You will see, gosh, a whole wide array of offerings, of resources, of programs tailored for readers of all ages, but also just anyone who is looking to improve their lives in any way.
Looking looking ahead to this year, what are some things you're excited about that the system is, maybe general library news, but that the system's doing?
Oh gosh. Right now we have a really cool partnership with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame up in Cleveland, on view here at our main library downtown through May 22nd, and it's such a cool exhibit. We have a drum set that was used by Peter Criss during Kiss's farewell tour.
At the library right
It's
now?
sitting at the library. We have a half dozen real working pinball machines, rock and roll pinball machines. We have a historical exhibit of amazing photos taken by a man by the name of Baron Woolman. Now, you won't necessarily know his name. You wouldn't necessarily know this guy's face, but you would almost definitely recognize his work. This was the chief photographer for Rolling Stone magazine in like rock and roll's, heyday, where you've got Led Zeppelin, you've got Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Joan Baez, Jeff Beck, you know,
Yeah,
all the big ones.
the
And
heavy
so
hitters.
the reason that this guy is important is because he hails from Columbus, Ohio. So, not only are we celebrating rock and roll, we're also celebrating Central Ohio's contributions to rock and roll. And our local history and genealogy team has even put together a whole historical exhibit up on our second floor. celebrating Central Ohio rock and roll. So concert halls, radio stations, um, music facilities and concert venues, you name it. So it's a really exciting way to connect as a community and to celebrate our community. We want people to be, we want to, if you might come in for something at the library, but then, hey, look, what's this? Your interest and your curiosity will be piqued. And guess what? Our staff have selected a whole number of rock and roll themed books for readers of all
Exciting
ages.
ages.
So, right, everything we do comes back to books and reading, but um, it's so much more than that as well.
I love that. I guess one of the final things that, I wanna ask is, you talk about, exciting things going on this year, but looking ahead, library systems in Ohio, Columbus Metropolitan Library, specifically, where do you what are you excited about over the next 5, 10 years? Is there anything that you're looking at and just excited with the trends of where things are going? Are there things that maybe you're worried, or wanna focus on, like, yeah, like, this is an issue in our systems now that we are trying to address? I'd be curious to know.
Well, I mean, gosh, I'm excited, about the programs like the rock and roll I just mentioned. We're exploring new ways to partner with our communities. I mentioned the Culture Pass. That program continues to expand. So there's a lots of different ways that we are working to engage our community, to revitalize and reinvest in our community with a lot of these new facilities that I mentioned. I'm certainly worried that there are some trends where public libraries are kind of becoming ground zero for a lot of the culture wars that are happening. We are free and open to all. There's not a lot of other institutions, public institutions, that are free and open to all. Um, People have access to all kinds of materials at their public library. If there's something that will offend everybody at the public library, and that's the way we like it. You should be able to have access to any materials that you want. And so there are, efforts to kind of curtail that a little bit, where we're seeing libraries being the target of a lot of vitriol. So things to be excited about, things to be worried about. But our commitment is to continue to be open to all, to continue to serve our community, and to meet them where they are. As our community continues to evolve, we need to evolve with them to make sure that we're meeting their demands.
Incredible. Ben, anything else you wanna talk about? Add.
We have 23 library locations. There's always something going on. Visit us online, columbuslibrary.org. We have a whole events page where you can filter it by your location to see what's happening at the location nearest you. You can apply for a library card. Uh, all you need to be is a resident of Ohio. So much going on. Stop in. If you have not been in a while, I think that especially these new library locations will really blow your mind as far as what the evolution of a library has become. So we hope to see you.
Awesome. Ben, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.